Than mine, Stacy.
Good morning. Welcome to our first Hangout on Air 2015. You are watching the Get Untethered with Evernote Hangouts. I am Stacy Harmon, and I'm here with the lovely Christy Willis, my co-author for Untethered with Evernote, Tips and Workflows for Independent Entrepreneurs. So thank you for joining us. We've got a couple new things in 2015. We've got you might have noticed a new look on our art on the home page for this, or the RSVP form, as well as I have a new platform to demo for you. I now have a PC, and we're going to be giving you both perspectives in 2015. And today is my first Hangout on Air through the PC versus my Mac. Mac's still my primary platform, but we think a lot of you will identify with the interface on the PC. So I wanted to bring that to you, as well as I have a lovely little Android device now as well. So we've got all our platforms covered, and we have another new thing too. We're going to have our first guest this year, so you'll get more information on that during Christy's section a little bit later. And we welcome you. We are here to talk today about starting fresh with Evernote. We wanted to bring the new year back to basics, back to the fundamentals, and back to the core skills that really allow you to utilize Evernote effectively in your business and work life. And Evernote constantly evolves, so there's even some new fundamentals, but we're going to be covering a couple of the basics, as well as giving you an introduction to some of the new core skills that will really fuel your adoption of Evernote. And as is our style, we're going to be illustrating the elements through case study. So each of us are going to give you a use case that is going to act as homework for you to kind of get started and get hooked, hopefully, on Evernote in the way that we are. We tried to pick two examples that we think that all of you can relate to and that we can build upon as we move forward with our Hangouts in the new year. We do these once a month. So just quickly, a little bit of background. Both Christy and I, we co-authored Untethered with Evernote, which is right here, and I'll give you a slide kind of showing you how you can get that. You can go to getuntethered.com, and we have it in print or digital format. It's also one of 3 Evernote books available at the Evernote Market, so you can certainly get it directly from Evernote if you are interested as well. We're thrilled to be located there. Christy and I are both Evernote Business Certified Consultants, which is Evernote's business platform. It's their certification process, deeming you as an expert in the business tier of their service. And we also are both Evernote ambassadors, which is a group of kind of 60 power users that are located, all across the globe, and are just really passionate users with specific use cases for Evernote. So we love that role, and our fellow ambassadors. Needless to say, we're Evernote geeks. And we are both based in Austin, Texas, and that's where we're coming to you from today. And as I mentioned, this is a monthly hangout. This is, I think, our 9th or maybe even 9th hangout. I think it's our 9th hangout. There's a long history, and I'm going to share my screen with you to kind of show you how you can get access to all of that. But today's topic, as I mentioned, is going to be Evernote core skills and tips starting fresh. And let me go ahead and just share my screen as I transition this over to Christy to kind of tell you how the Hangout's going to work, but give you just some background info here. We're going to do some screen sharing today, and we're going to do some live demo as well. So that is going to kind of get you going. There was a little lag there. Apologize. Some of the things that I mentioned, if you need to reach us, this is how you can reach us. And Twitter's a great place to ask us questions. There's our Twitter handles. And we like to use the #GetUntethered hashtag to make sure that we are seeing everything related to this conversation. If you want to view the last archive of these Hangouts on Air, they are recorded. We're recording this, and you can watch them on demand at any time at the YouTube/GetUntethered YouTube channel. And you can see some of the sessions that we did last year and watch them as you go along. We also invite you to join our Get Untethered community. We have an ongoing and evolving conversation on many channels, including Facebook, which has over 500 members talking about their latest Evernote questions in our Facebook group, Google+, YouTube, Twitter, and obviously on the web. And as I mentioned, you can get the book either through the Get Untethered website or the Evernote Market in a variety of formats. So we'd love to have you kind of do that. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Christy so that she can get started and tell you kind of how today's going to work.
Thanks, Stacy. And just for a point of clarification, I am an Evernote nerd, not an Evernote geek.
Okay. Wow.
But yes, as Stacy mentioned, we love Evernote and big fans of everything that you can do with it. And so I am going to take us through just some of the basics. If you're new to Evernote, these are some of the core things that you'll need to know as you are setting up your system. And so I'm just going to go through the basic building blocks that you'll use with every thing that you create. So your notes, notebooks, stacks, naming conventions, and tags. So just a few examples. And these were all taken with the Mac, but similar functionality works. The screen just might look a little different if you're working with the PC or one of the Android tools. So Evernote is organized around notes. If you think about it like a modern workspace, these are digital notes where we used to have stacks of paper all over our desk. Now we have digital notes, and that's the way that Evernote is organized. And with every note that I create, I'm going to choose a title for that note. The title is really important because that helps me search and find the note later and be able to get what I need quickly, find what I need quickly. The note body is where I can put all the text for the note, but not just text, because with Evernote, I can add photos. I can have audio notes. I use that personally a lot when I'm writing and interviewing people. I can attach files, so I can have all different types of information stored inside the note, not just text, but if I am going to do text, I can have checklists, bullet lists, tables, you name it, and you can see those all up on the formatting bar there. And then the third choice I want to make with every note is where I'm going to store it, and that's my notebook. And with every note, there is, with every installation of Evernote, there is a default notebook that is created for you. But then you can create however many notebooks that you want, and we'll talk some more about that in a minute. But I want to pick the notebook, just like I would with a paper note. I'm going to pick where I'm going to store that. And Evernote, I would do that by notebook. So that's how that looks on the screen for my desktop, but now this is what it looks like on my iPhone or my iPad. Again, same three choices. What do I want to call the note? Where do I want to put it? And what kind of content do I want to put inside it? And so those are my basic building blocks for every note.
Christy,
yes.
I just want to let everybody know too that there is a Q&A pod for this Hangout, and as we go along, you feel free to add your questions to that.
Yeah.
And if we'll be happy to answer them in the context of the presentation today, or we have some breaks designated for Q&A. So certainly we can get to those during the session.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stacy, for pointing that out. So within those notes, I am going to choose where to store it. Again, by default, you're going to have one notebook, and you could, and some people do, just put everything in one notebook. But there are a variety of reasons that you might want to create more than one notebook. If you've read our book or watched some of the previous Hangouts, you may know Stacy likes a lot of notebooks. I have a more minimal notebook structure. Although Stacy and I were talking about the longer we've worked together, I've created more notebooks and she's using more tags, so I think we're rubbing off on each other. But one of the reasons I would choose to group a note or choose to create a notebook is I need another way to group things together. Maybe I just have too much in one notebook and I need to break it up a little bit more. It makes it easy to share information with others. I can share an entire notebook, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Or I can select which notebooks are available offline. So I frequently work on my iPad or my phone offline, and if you are a premium user, you can choose which notebooks are available to you. So for example, in my recent blog post on our Get Untethered blog, I talk about studying for the sommelier exams and the Certified Specialist of Wine exams. I do that at the gym where I don't have Wi-Fi, and so I've made that notebook that contains all of my study notes available offline so that I can access those no matter where I am. So that's been a great best practice as well. And so those are how I would choose to create notebooks. Do I need it available offline? Maybe there's other information I don't. Do I need to share that information with someone else, or do I just need to segregate it a little bit and have a different grouping for it? And so that's when I would choose, hey, do I need a notebook for this? When you create notebooks, that sharing is one of the things you would want to think about. So for example, Lillian, who is running the background of the Hangout for us today, our production manager, goes through, we are in the process of writing a cookbook, which is an example I'll use a couple of times today. And we have multiple notebooks for that cookbook. One of them is the internal project organization notes that we're using, and that notebook is shared with 3 people. Lillian and I have access to it, and then we also share it with our photographer. But that's part of my business, Evernote business installation. It's part of my business notes, and we've chosen to share it with just a few people. We have a different notebook for our recipes, which we will be sharing with a lot more people, and we will actually be sharing with a few people that whole notebook publicly. And so for that one, we needed it to be a personal notebook that we could share with anyone. You can tell that one is a business notebook and one is a personal notebook because the business notebook has that little building icon over to the left that tells me a business notebook. The icon that shows the people tells me that both of these notebooks are shared. So different people have access to both of those. But one is stored with my Evernote business installation, and one is part of my personal Evernote installation through which I have an Evernote premium account. So both shared notebooks, but shared in a different way and created in a different way because different people needed access to them. Over time, you may have a number of notebooks, and you can organize your notebooks into stacks. Always think of stacks like shelves. If you think of your notebooks like books and you think of the stacks like shelves, I organize my books. I group them together by topic or area where I'd want to be able to find it quickly. And that's what the stacks do for you. So this is a snapshot of my stack, and you can see that I've grouped 6 of my finance notebooks together. I have some personal notebooks grouped together in my Christie stack. I have our business notebooks for my KW Solutions group in a stack. And I have a separate stack with my clients. I like to travel, so I have a travel stack. Each of those is basically a different shelf for my Evernote notebooks. It's like how I like to organize my notebooks. Stacks are personal, so even if you have an Evernote business installation, other people don't see your stacks. So for example, Lillian gets to organize her Evernote business notebooks however she likes. My stack doesn't enforce on her. She gets to put the notebooks together in whatever grouping she wants. So it's nice that you get to say, I like all of these notebooks on one shelf or one stack, and Lillian can say, you know, I really think about it differently this way. And so everybody gets to have their own stacks, which is great. So we talked about notes, notebooks, and stacks, which are the basic building blocks of organization in Evernote. But there are a couple of other key considerations as you're using and creating notes and trying to find things. And one is naming conventions. How you name your notebooks and how you name your notes plays a part in how easily you can find them, how they sort together, and the search techniques that you can use. So for example, here we are back to my wine study notes. I spend a lot of time studying for my wine exams. They're pretty tough. But for each different topic, I have a note. And what I've done is I've created a naming convention for those notes. So I put the name of the country, an underscore in the region, and then in the title I put whatever the question or the topic is. And then inside the note I put the answer or the information that I need to remember. The great thing about using this naming convention is I can sort that notebook alphabetically, and all of my France champagne notes would sort together. All my France Burgundy notes would sort together, and that makes it easy for me to study. I also could search for France underscore champagne : and it will pull all of those notes up together, and I don't have to worry about what else is in the notebook. So using those naming conventions, both for notebooks and for notes, makes it easy for you to group similar topics together. So for example, for the cookbook, all the notebooks for the cookbook have the same prefix at the beginning, and then whatever the detail topic is. We use something similar when we were writing the Untethered with Evernote book. So using those standard naming conventions just helps you organize your system a little bit. There is no right way or one way to do it. It's whatever works best for you and your system. But think about, how could I make it easier for me to find things by using a prefix or a specific naming convention? Lillian and I use naming conventions for all kinds of things, including receipts. We have a weekly meeting note that you'll see here in a little bit. Each of those have a naming convention just so that there's a standardization to it. Another idea to use when you're creating notes is something called tags. Tags are like keywords for your notes. Some people really love tags and they use them heavily. Some people use them less often. The nice thing about tags is if I place a tag in a note, then I can search by that tag and it will find any item that has that tag from whatever notebook it is stored in. So if I want to use, for example, that best practices you tag that you see there, or you can see I have one called balance ball. That's for my fitness notes. I keep everything in Evernote. Account info is a perfect one. If I have information about an account with a company, or for example, all of our social media accounts for my company, I put account info on those notes. You can see there are 33 of them. It doesn't matter what notebook they end up in. I can search by account info and all of those notes will come up. So they're like keywords or tags for your notes. A place that I use this is as a writer. I have different story ideas that I want to pitch, and those can be stored in a variety of different notebooks. I might store it in a notebook for a certain magazine that I want to pitch it for. It might be in the notebook for my blog. But I want to be able to pull up those story ideas once a month and put together, what are my pitches for this month? What are the things I'm going to post this month? And so I use that story ideas tag as a way to pull notes from across those notebooks. That may be something that you use initially, or it may be something that you work up to. But again, those tags allow you to add a keyword that might not otherwise appear in the note, and allow you to pull from that keyword across notebooks. So that's a really helpful way to be able to use those things, depending on how you're organizing your system. Again, you don't have to use tags. Some people like them. I'm more of a tag-heavy person. Stacy doesn't like to use tags as much. Again, it's a personal preference in how you choose to organize. Here's a great example of how you can pull naming conventions and tags together. So this is an example from our cookbook recipes notebook. We have been using naming conventions at the beginning of each note name to tell us what stage it is in the development process. So is it still being developed? Is it ready to be tested? Does it need to be revised? And so we use that naming convention. Again, I love the naming convention. I can sort that notebook, get all of the things that need to be tested together, all the things that need to be revised together. It's been really helpful as a quick cue of where we are with that recipe. And then we've been using tags differently within that notebook. We have the cookbook is going to be organized by season. So we have each season tagged to that note. And then we also have been using the photo tags so that we know which notes are scheduled for a photo shoot. And that has been really helpful because a few times we've needed to quickly pull the recipes that are still up or that are going to be scheduled for a photo shoot. So those tags have been helpful in that place. Again, great example of how you could combine that naming convention and tags. So that's a good pausing place of some of the basics. If you have any questions, just a reminder that you can type them in the Q&A pod. But just a quick overview of some of the building blocks in Evernote. Notes, notebooks, stacks, tags, and naming conventions, and how you can use them together. And with that groundwork laid, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy and let her walk us through a couple of examples of how she does that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
And I am going to start sharing mine. That was so clear, Christy. You do such a great job of really explaining that. So those really are the fundamentals that you need in order to succeed with your Evernote organization. So you'll see, and we talk about this in detail, and just a little overview, the book is structured so that sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, and I'm not doing a great job. Okay. Coffee hasn't kicked in. Okay, the book's structured, Chapter 3, we talk about all of these core skills. So what Christy just outlined, we have, and then we expand upon those. And then we have about 15 workflows in the book that show you how we deploy those particular skills that Christy just highlighted. But they're really the basics that you've got to have your arms around when you're getting in. I'm going to move into actually demoing for you in the interface, and while I pull up my screen, maybe Christy can address the question that's there.
Perfect. Thanks, Stacy. So Larry asked a great question. He said, what is the purpose of the underscore? You know, Larry, for me, I liked having it kind of all together. The underscore, I can, when you search, you can type in the keywords and it would pull anything that had France space champagne. Champagne and France are actually mentioned in a lot of the notes. By having it be France underscore champagne, all one phrase, it severely limits the notes that it's pulling when I do that, because I've made it a separate phrase as opposed to two separate words. I could achieve the same thing by asking a more advanced search and using some search logic, because you can actually get pretty fancy with the searches. We talked about that in a previous Hangout, but I'm a little lazy, so by using the underscore, I can just type France underscore champagne and it pulls it all.
It's a really great question. It's actually a good nuance that Christy's exploiting in the interface, and that is a very good power user tip as well.
And just to tell everybody, I'm a former programmer, which means that my function in life is to do as few steps as possible always. And so by using the underscore, I just make the daily search that I would do a little bit easier.
Okay, so I am going to go ahead and just move into the live demo portion of this, and then I'll kind of recap with the couple of slides that I had prepared for this. But what I want to show you is one of the things that we get some feedback on is that when you're looking at Christy and my accounts in Evernote, you're really looking at what I call a seasoned account. And the account has a lot of data in it. I mean, if you look at my account, I've got 13,000 notes in it. And a lot of people who are getting started with Evernote can't necessarily identify with that yet. Your account doesn't look the same. So what I wanted to do was start a brand new account, make it a little bit more parallel to what newer users really are experiencing when they first get into Evernote, and show you some of these core skills that Christy just introduced you to, as well as some of the key things that you need to be able to do in order to execute the workflows that we're gonna show you. And I'm gonna demo this through a use case, and it's a use case that everybody can identify with. So you all need to pay taxes, right? And so both Christy and I use Evernote to manage and support our bookkeeping and tax paying process. And we want to show you that and illustrate some of these skills using that workflow. It is a workflow that we detail out significantly in the book. It's also one that we're going to talk about much more detailed next month. We're going to spend a whole hour on that, and we're going to have a guest speaker as well who lays out his format, and we're going to compare and contrast how the three of us do that. So we want you to kind of get started with it using this. And when you first get into an account, and again, I'm showing you the PC interface, and I assume, Christy, you'll speak up if you can't see anything that I've got going here. That would be great. And also, just Christy, to let you know, I can only see one thing at a time, so if there's any questions, if you could just ping me and let me know, that'd be great.
I will tell you.
Thank you. Okay, so when you first get a new Evernote account, and this is a free version too, most Evernote users really begin with the free version and hold it for a very long time. And most of what we discuss can be accomplished with the free version. So let's just talk about those kinds of things. When you first start your account, you probably have your left sidebar here, you have your middle panel, and you have your right pane, and you have your Welcome to Evernote note. And some of you probably have gotten involved and figured out that you can write checklists, and you have to-dos, and you have different things that you want to get done. Maybe you've taken notes at conferences, but it's time to start building notebooks and stacks, as Christy showed. And so there's a couple of things that I want to talk about in terms of just configuring your account so that you are best utilized to flourish with Evernote. And the first is, Christy had mentioned that there's a default notebook. Depending on the platform that you're on, it might be called First Notebook. Depending on not only the platform, but the version of Evernote, if you have free, premium, or business, it's going to be called something like First Notebook or Stacy Harmon's Personal Notebook or Stacy Harmon's Business Notebook. It might slightly vary, again, depending on what version and platform you're on, but it's going to have some vocabulary like that. We recommend renaming this immediately, and I simply am right-clicking on it and using the term inbox, and you precede it with a dot. This is a naming convention, much like Christy just introduced, that allows us to force the default notebook to always sort at the top of the list. Okay, so this alone will really help you to understand where data is coming into Evernote, and Christy's going to show you the importance of digitizing everything that you have and centralizing it in Evernote. And this simple renaming of your default notebook will help get your arms around how to centralize and process your notes. Okay.
So, Stacy, you might just mention that the default notebook is, there are lots of different ways to get things into Evernote. Stacy's going to show you a bunch of them, and some of those let you pick what notebook it goes into, and some of them don't. And so having your default notebook called Inbox gives you that ability to say, this is someplace I go process like an inbox, so that when default notes or notes land into that default notebook, I need to go move them to their proper place. So it's kind of that inbox mentality, and we both use that.
Yes, and you could think of it, the analogy there would be that wire desk or that wooden box that you have on your desk that people come and drop papers off in. That's your inbox in essence, okay?
Yeah.
If you right-click on the notebook, you'll see in your account that you can confirm that this is your default notebook, and that's one way to kind of know that. And when in doubt, if you can't find something, go to your inbox. That's likely where it is. Okay? The next thing is just basically let me really quickly show how to create new notebooks and stacks. So you're simply going to go to File, New Notebook. There's multiple ways to do that. And I kind of know what's happening or what I'm going to sign up for, but we could just call this, I'm going to do a taxes notebook. Say I want to archive my 2000 and I think I have an example where I have 2013 receipts, and we'll call it personal.
Hey, Stacy, it looks like there it goes. There was a little bit of a delay, but we got it.
Okay, great. And then, so that simply creates it. And say I wanted to create another one. Let's call this new notebook and call it 2013 Receipts Business. You can see here over on the left it created two notebooks. A very common question is, how do I create a stack? And this skill will really help move you forward. There's a couple of ways to do it. Really, it's a drag and drop issue. I can simply take once I have two notebooks created, I take one and I drag and drop it over the other. And you can see on the PC here, it renames it to Notebook Stack. Now on the Mac, it's going to inherit the name of one of the top notebook. And you can then, in both interfaces, rename it by simply right-clicking and rename it. And so I can call this Tax Archive and have a stack in this way that is my receipts for 2013, 2014, 2012, whatever it is. This is kind of the process that I use. Okay, so that is how you create a stack. And then you can just drag and drop things into there. Now I've gone ahead and I've created another stack called Bookkeeping and Taxes, and maybe I want to make these, consider these the current or active, okay, versus my archive down here. So this is maybe where I'd be keeping my current stuff, my current 2015 receipts, as well as the 2014 tax documents that I'm compiling for my my CPA, and then I'll walk you through what this raw scans notebook is in a second. But once the year is over and I complete something, I can simply drag and drop one notebook into my tax archive and segregate my data this way. And in this case, I prefer my tax documents. This is still an active project for me, so I'm just going to drop it into there. So I'm able to organize and sort my notebooks through stacks in ways that work for me. Okay? All right, so that is stack creation and notebook creation, which brings a lot of opportunities. Now, if I have notes in here, let's talk about how we can just move notes around. I could simply right-click on this to delete it, I think. Yeah, so if I wanted to just delete it, I could simply delete it and it would move it into the trash. I could also move a note around. Let me put one in here by dragging and dropping. You can move the note around like that. So now you can see in the inbox, I've got 2 notes right here. And I have other ways for moving notes around too. You can see here on the right-hand, in the right-hand panel up at the top, it tells me what notebook it's in, and if I want to move it right back into raw scans or into one of these other receipts, I simply click on it and it will reposition it in the notebook that I designated. Okay, I'm going to get to this system in just a minute. I want to show you a couple other quick setups. Every setup elements that are very important to what I'm going to show you in the workflow. The first is every single account has a unique email address associated with it that is unique to your own account. On the PC, the way you find this is you go to Tools, Account Options, and you can see here that there's an email account associated with my Evernote account. I want to actually copy this and save it as a new contact in whatever contact system you use. Maybe it's Outlook, maybe it's Google Contacts. I'm a Google Contacts person, and I just save that.
Stacy, we're not seeing whatever it is that you're doing on your screen.
Oh, so when I go to Tools,
now it's showing up. I don't know what was going on.
Okay, so do you see this account option?
No. You remember that we were having a demo problem where pop-ups weren't showing? Do you remember that?
Okay.
I think we're having that problem again. Would you mind switching to the slides so they can see the slide version?
Yeah. So we'll work that out.
But can you show the slide? You have it in the slide.
Yeah. Okay, regarding if you're on the Mac or the PC, you're going to want to access your unique email address through one of these 2 options. Okay, and you can reference this in the recording, as well as I have a blog post about it, and we have a resource in the Evernote, the Untethered with Evernote guide on how to use this feature as well. Okay, so those are, that's how you find your email address. Now I have to go back to the slide. Hold on, back to the live demo. Screen share. On the PC, the Google Hangouts work a little bit different, and I can only share one window at a time. I can't share with you my entire screen. So well, that's, oh, I can. Ooh. Okay, this is a Stacy learning curve thing. Sorry, people. I will fix it. This will help a lot. Okay, here we go. So that is your email address. The next thing I want to show you, and I showed you your default notebook and how to do that. The third is the web clipper.
Wait, let's tell them why it's so important to know what your email address is.
Okay, so I will illustrate this through this way. If I have an email that has arrived that I want to save, maybe it's a communication on a project, maybe it is a receipt like this that I got, I can simply forward it to this contact that I just saved in Evernote. And if my computer won't lag, see here I add to the Evernote demo, which is that new contact that I just created. And if I hit send, my message has been sent. Now I can close this. Now when I go here into Evernote to my inbox and I sync is save. Sync is save. And also what happens, you can see here that this is the email that I just had. Now using that movement, I can move this into phase 1 of my process, which is raw scans. I move that into my raw scans notebook. It moves it from my inbox into this stack here, which is my raw scan. And you can see that that email now exists in Evernote as a result of that unique email address. So thanks for having me demo that, Christy.
Yeah, and I love that. I talk about this in the blog post that we just posted yesterday. I really love that email address. I use that many times a day because email has just become such a burden that being able to say, this is something I want to save for later, I'm going to go put it in Evernote because that's where I save things for later, and get it out of my email store has been just a real lifesaver for me.
Me too, and actually it's a key element to me in keeping inbox zero in terms of my email management. So I manage my email doesn't manage me, and that email Evernote account is why.
Yeah.
So, core skill. So that is the email and why it's important. There's another thing too that you need to do. You need to install the Evernote web clipper, which let me pull this up here. And this is the web clipper. What you're going to do is you're going to go to evernote.com, web clipper. And for whatever browser you have, it's going to hopefully pull up, give the ability to install a browser extension that Evernote has created for whatever browser you use. Now I use Chrome. We actually both advocate that you use Chrome. It's the best browser for integration with Evernote. It also tends to be faster and more powerful for the types of things that we do and gains us efficiencies. Once you go through this process and install it, you'll have this little elephant icon in the upper right-hand corner. You will need to sign into it. You can see here it has a little red dot next to it. That is because I need to sign in. So you simply will do a one-time sign in, and that will integrate it. And now when you go to websites, I
love this feature so much.
Yeah, it actually will allow you to clip or save whatever website you're looking at into your Evernote account. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to show you a bit more practical use case for this. So if you go to, say, getuntethered.com and you go to our blog, had this prepped, but it seems to have closed the window. I'm sure it's user error. Sorry. So much for live demos, right? So on our blog, Christy just published a post yesterday that talks about use cases for how she uses Evernote. So this might be something that I have an interest in replicating, and so I may be here, I might look at it, and we are experiencing a little bit of a lag because I'm Skyping and screen sharing, or sorry, the Google Hangout, so it does move much quicker than this. But now I hit this on the Google Hangout, on the web clipper, and you can see here that it pulls up the web clipper and it is going to reformat her article either as simplified or give me options. I can do the whole article, I can clip the full page. I tend to like simplified article when I'm blog reading, and say I think that Christy's article is really helpful and I want to look into a Zendu and I want to remember that. Notice it changes my cursor color and I can actually highlight here, and then I simply click save, and you guessed it, it's going to actually create a note in my default inbox. If I go back up here and sync, it will pull that in, and allow me to retain anything that I have seen on the web. So this is a really, really powerful way to collect information and organize it into Evernote. And as you can see, it retained that highlighting that I did as well. Really, really great stuff. And then let me just show you here under the, let me show you, I'm going to forward a little bit here. I had some resources right here that I was going to show. They seem to have been moved.
No, they're there. I'll show them. They're there. You may be sharing an old version. I don't know.
Okay, so anyhow, I'll just go live. GetUntethered.com. If you guys sign up for our resources notebook, I'll show it to you here. Such a lag, sorry people.
They're up.
This notebook here, or sorry, this layout. Oh my goodness, so slow. So we have to balance the power of showing this live with actually the bandwidth issues and constraints that we've got here. But I think it's really important for you guys to see the live demo, so hopefully you'll hang in there with us. But obviously we go through this in the book, but also the resources notebook, which if you go to getuntethered.com and go to the resources tab, and you can subscribe to get access to this list of notes, we actually have a very detailed tutorial on the web clipper, how you can configure it and how you can, the differences between the different versions of the web clipper to save things. So it's a really great resource that has some additional training, and we've just shown you again the high-level basics here so that you know kind of what's happening with it. Really quickly then, let me move on to the next core skill set. The web clipper's an important one. The next thing is annotating an image. So within Evernote, you can actually, I'm going to assume I'm going to centralize all of my images here, and Christy's going to show you how you can get in your receipts and such. But you'll notice here I can, on the PC, click and hover over any image, which is a copy of my receipt. I took this picture right at the location. I can click annotate. On the Mac, it's located in the upper menu bar a little bit, a little different. It has the same A logo with a circle around it, and it's dragging. And what this is going to do is it's going to, yeah, Evernote not responding. It's working. It's trying. So the next thing is it brings up some sketch annotation functionality, which actually allows us to edit our document and add text, arrows, blur out important or sensitive information, and other nifty features, which are not demoing really well in this live section. It is coming up though. But you can see here, now I could say this was a cash receipt, or instead of a Visa, or say it was a business receipt, I could simply type in here. It really works. I didn't, well, you know how it works. I could call this a business receipt, or you know, there's real estate use cases for this. You can annotate. You can annotate maps, images, any image that you can get into Evernote, you can annotate. So I'm not going to spend time actually trying to format that, given the lag that we're experiencing. But you can see here when I hit the close button, it says saving, and it's actually refreshing and adding my annotation directly to the image that's in my note. So really powerful stuff. That's the basic skill that can be applied in a lot of different ways. The last thing I want to show you that's a core skill is actually finding what you're looking for. Evernote has a search box in the upper right-hand corner. It doesn't matter what your interface is, if you're on a Mac or a PC, but you're going to want to use this search box. And Christy and I did an entire hour-long webinar last year that's on demand that talks about detailed search skills. So this is just a high-level overview of how you can find and retrieve information. And some of the things we want to show you is that Evernote, even the free version, will scan the interior of even images that are in your notes. So if I type Serrano for this note that I took, or this receipt that I took a picture of, notice when I type it, it actually is highlighting my handwriting that's appearing in an image that I have added to Evernote. Okay, so really powerful stuff. You can do it for that. You can do it for numbers, anything that appears in there. If I'm looking for a number, which this is one of the reasons that Evernote's really powerful. Say I'm looking at my statement. There are results for that. I checked it out. Okay, so if, say, I'm looking at my bank statement and I don't know what this amount was, what was that for $270.63, I can do a search for it, and Evernote will actually retrieve that amount. And again, I apologize for the lag, but you can see that that 270.63 is showing here, and it found that because my receipt was in Evernote. So that's kind of the overview. You can search the interior of contents. You can also search items that, let's see if this, see Azendu. So I knew Azendu was in that clipped note that I just put into Evernote, and so it found it and filtered out my 12 notes just to this one note that we have. Okay, so hopefully that kind of brings some light to some of those basic skill sets. And what I'm going to do really quickly is show you my recommendation as your homework to really adopt Evernote, particularly for your taxes and bookkeeping management this year, and to really follow what we're going to talk about in the next Hangout, is to create these 4 notebooks. Create something called Raw Scans. And Christy's going to show you ways that you can get things into this Raw Scans notebook. But Forward is one of them. Clip is another. And then you're going to be able to take pictures and add your documents in there. And you can add anything. So you can add receipts. You can add, things you take pictures of, emails that you forward. You can write on here and have it come in. Then the other thing is you can sort these things into, business receipts. So that was a taxi receipt, so that was maybe business. I'm going to put it by dragging and dropping into business.
Stacy, we're going to go through this in a lot of detail next month, but we still have a couple of things to show, so you want to...
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyhow, that's the basic structure. I tend to segregate business and personal. So get those set up, and then I'll move it back over to Christy so she can give you the next phase, yes, which are how to get your stuff in there. Okay?
Thanks, Stacy. So a couple of things, as Stacy mentioned, we are going to be talking about getting organized for your taxes next month. If you want to get a jump start on it before then, we do talk about receipt management in the book, Untethered with Evernote, and we present 2 different ways. So Stacy and I have slightly different organizational methods that we use, in part because we have different structures. She's working with a CPA and I'm not. So you can see both of those examples in there, and again, we'll build those out with someone else who has written a book specifically about using Evernote with taxes next month. So if you're interested in that piece of it, we'll be really digging in deep, but you could get a jump start on it by looking at a couple of different ways to organize with the book. We also have a Google Hangout on Air where we talk specifically about organizing receipts. That is up on YouTube that you could check out as well. So lots of information about that. That's a pressing issue for all of us right now, and whether you have your own business or not. So we will be digging in more to that then. So just to build on our basics a little bit more, the main thing for me with Evernote has been about just getting my information into Evernote. And what that's done for me is it's given me that central repository where I can organize everything and be able to find the information that I want. So Evernote really has become that digital workspace. And Stacy showed a couple of different ways to get things into Evernote by emailing, which I love, as well as clipping, which is another great feature that I use often. And I do use Chrome as my main browser, but I also often use Safari and Firefox. So I actually have the clipper installed for every browser that I use. So no matter which browser I'm on, I can be sure to get things into Evernote, because the main thing is get the information into Evernote. So I want to show you just a couple more techniques that are specifically about getting paper into Evernote. And so the first is using a photo for your mobile device. So I use my iPhone all the time. I have what I consider the tyranny of little pieces of paper in my life, which is what I call receipts. And I just need to get them into Evernote and out of my paper world, because if it's in paper, I'm going to lose it. So using my camera to snapshot things as I have those expenses come up is fantastic, because I don't have to worry about having to go to the scanner later. So Evernote has a great built-in scanner or photography where you can take a picture of a document or a business card or even a post-it note. And if you don't want to use the built-in Evernote camera, there are a number of third-party tools that work well with Evernote, both for the Android and the iPhone, that will help you take a great searchable digital image that will store in Evernote. And that's the beauty of all of this, is that these are completely searchable. I'm not just taking a picture, I'm taking a searchable picture. And Stacy showed a great example of that with Serrano. So turning to my camera on my phone or my iPad is my first line of defense when I want to get a piece of paper into Evernote. Also highly recommend having a scanner, and there are many that are Evernote compatible. I have the small one on the right, which is a Fujitsu Scan Snap that will allow me to scan directly into Evernote. I love the travel size of this. Stacy uses a Canon that she really likes, and again, we went through the details of those in a previous blog post and a previous hangout that you can watch on YouTube. The big daddy of all scanners for Evernote is that beautiful Fujitsu Evernote scanner on the left. And I promise, Lillian, I promise, I know I said this last year, but I promise we will get one. The great thing about this scanner on the left, and there's a beautiful video on the Evernote website, but you can just dump stuff in that thing. So it can be paper, it can be business cards, it can be receipts. You throw it all in that sheet feeder, you hit the button, and it starts figuring out and learning where you store that kind of information. It is fantastic. So I will get one this year, I swear, so that it would make scanning so much faster. But having a scanner, particularly one that's Evernote compatible, and you can find these in the marketplace and the app center to be able to find the best scanner that will integrate with your Evernote system, is really helpful. But that's another great way to get things into Evernote. And then a third tool, which is a new tool, is Scannable, which is a new app. And you know, Stacy, I forgot to look this up. I know it's on the iPhone. Is it also available for Android, or is that coming?
No, it's iOS only.
It's right iOS now. Only right now. The reason they do iOS first is it's one device, one OS, easier to get it going. But I feel confident they'll have an Android version in the not too distant future. But the Scannable app is really fantastic because it allows me to just point to a piece of paper, and you can see here, this is a menu that I went to a tasting at a local restaurant for their new menu preview, and I want to get this into Evernote so that I can have it for reference purposes when I write about this restaurant. So I point the Scannable app at this menu, and it starts figuring out where the paper is, and then it captures it and shows me, okay, this is what your image is going to look like. And then from there, I can choose to store that scanned image where I want. And what I love about this versus just the camera app on Evernote is that I can very easily mail this or message this to somebody who is not an Evernote user, and I can store it to my Evernote kind of all in one fell swoop. So I could email it to a colleague who didn't get to go, and then I can store it in my Evernote notebook. So I love the ease of being able to do multiple things with this. The other thing is, if you have the Scannable app and you have that beautiful Fujitsu Evernote scanner, the big one, you can start the scanner from the app. And so in a business environment, you could have multiple users using the same scanner, but scanning to their Evernote installations without having to move where the scanner is attached. So a really fantastic thing. Before Scannable, you would have to scan everything to one Evernote installation or hook it up to a different computer and do things differently, but there was a lot more involved in trying to get in it targeted to the right user. Now the Scannable app lets you store it where you need to. So really fantastic tool that's just come out, and I'm just learning all the possibilities with it, but it's a really great way to get the paper, that's the key, into Evernote. The other big thing to just talk a little bit more about, we talked about creating the notes and getting them in there and organizing your system. But one of the main things with Evernote is really being able to share easily. And this is one of my favorite things. Well, I have lots of favorite things. I've said that 5 times during this hangout. But I use Evernote quite a bit to share with other people. Some of my clients and colleagues use Evernote heavily and some don't. So sometimes I share by sharing a note. So you can take an individual note and share it out. On the Mac, there's a share icon up in the top right corner, something similar for the PC. And that would bring up this menu where I can choose how do you want to share this. And if I just choose share note, it's going to bring up this work chat window where I could type in who I want to share it with, what type of options I want to give them. Do I just want to let them view it? Do I want them to edit, be able to edit and invite other people? And you can see by the icon over here that it's going to share that note out to other folks. And so that is one way that I can share this. If they're Evernote users, they're going to be able to work with that note in an Evernote depending on what options I've given them. And I can share it with one person or multiple people there and then type my message in at the bottom. I can also share by email or out on my social channels. Here, instead of using the share note button, I did something different and I command clicked on that note, and that gave me the option to either share note or go to more sharing, where I could copy a public link that I could email to somebody or post somewhere. I could also choose to share it on one of the social channels or email it to someone. If I know someone's not an Evernote user, I might just email them the note instead, which I'll do on occasion with my clients. I also can share notebooks. So Lillian and I use this so much, Stacy and I use this so much to be able to collaborate together. And you can see all the shared notebooks I have just in my company stack because they have that people icon on them, which is how I know it's shared. Some of those are business notebooks, again, with that buildings over to the left, and some of them are personal notebooks, the white notebooks. And I can share the notebooks with other people just so that they can see the information and view it, or they can co-edit. As long as one of us is as a premium member, we can both edit notes in that notebook. I can share via work chat, or I can, if I'm an Evernote business user, I can publish notebooks to the business, and that makes them available to anybody that I've given those rights to. Just a couple of quick screenshots on that. I can share notebooks via work chat, so notice that I've got a little different icon here, so instead of it being a piece of paper, I have more of that notebook icon. Again, I could address it to someone, choose what rights they have, and send them a message. I can also publish, so if I'm using Evernote Business, I create notebooks and then I publish what access they have. So, for example, we have a couple of notebooks that I don't share with Lillian. Sorry, Lillian. But most of them I do. So I create the notebooks and then I publish them so that she has access to them as well. And you do that from the Evernote web client. So I went onto the web client here, and in the bottom left corner it has my account information, and I can go to the admin console. From there, I can see the notebooks and how many people have access to them. When I click on a notebook name, it lets me manage the sharing, choose what permissions I want people to have, and also you can see for this notebook, we've also invited our photographer who is not part of the business installation, but we wanted her to have access to that too. So I can share with the business notebooks with people outside the business. For the business notebooks, I can just publish them, and then anybody in the business has access to them. So a little bit different way when I'm working with business notebooks as well. The last thing I would bring up, and this is a feature that Evernote has recently added, and I have enjoyed it quite a bit, is that whenever we're sharing information, we can use work chat not just to share, but to update one another. So you can see Lillian and Stacy and I have been work chatting. Lillian and I have been work chatting. I've been work chatting with a photographer. But these are all just a quick way to update. So over the weekend, I was going to test one of the recipes Lillian had in the notebook, our cookbook notebook, and so I did a quick chat of, hey, is this up to date, or I don't understand something, and she chatted back to me. But it allows us to have that whole conversation in Evernote where it gets stored with the note instead of us texting each other separately and then it not being part of the conversation around that note. And that's what was happening before. So work chat has added a whole new level for us of being able to collaborate and keep that information in Evernote. And with that, we're running kind of short on time, but I do want to just let anybody who might have questions, we've gone through a lot of skills. I know this might feel like a little bit of overload, but if you do have any questions for us about some of the basics, feel free to chime in. And it doesn't look like we have any, so we'll just give them a minute to see. And of course, you can always ask outside of the Hangout. So again, join our Facebook group, Get Untethered. We have an active, regular conversation going on there. We're on all the social channels and would love to visit with you there as well. And we are going to, next month, do the Get Untethered Hangout with our special guest who has written a book about using Evernote to contain your taxes. And so we'll be looking at his recommendations as well as just hitting the highlights of how we personally organize. Again, we're always trying to give you multiple options. There isn't just one right way to organize your work, so we're going to give you a couple of different perspectives. And we're very excited to be focusing on tax. Well, as excited as anybody can be to focus on taxes. And of course, you can ping us personally either on Twitter or through email. You name it, we're here for you as a resource and really excited. And Stacy, do you have anything to add as we're wrapping up?
No, we're good.
I think you have a special for folks you're working with, new clients, is that right?
Yeah, that's true. If you want additional help in getting oriented or set up to Evernote, I do offer one-on-one consulting sessions through ScreenShare. It's a $99 50-minute dedicated intro session, and you can schedule it to your time. It shares with my calendar, and you can just schedule your appointment at Harmon Enterprises under my one-on-one coaching area. So that's a great way to kind of kickstart your Evernote usage if you're looking for some clarification that's specific to you. So feel free to take me up on that if it interests you.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. You know, Stacy's a great resource for getting started and getting organized. So to really help you get off to a great fresh start with Evernote. Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to next month. And again, just join us on social, and we'll be happy to share with you in any way that's possible.
Thanks for joining us this time. We'll see you next month.